Sue's asking the question about the most impactful or what freshman's going to get the most playing time. I know with the national championship in sight as being the ultimate goal, and it is every year, but this team looking like it's prepared to make a serious run, that one of those two, or maybe both of those two, 5-star linebackers / safety, when you talk Sonny Styles and CJ Hicks, that could be the key to the whole thing in terms of another, for the first time in how long, a playmaker at linebacker, a star. And I hate to put that much on two guys that have never played it down at this level, but freshmen break out and make it happen all over the country. So those are the two guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the roster here, and, there are maybe about a dozen or so true freshmen that are in the fold and practicing this spring already. CJ Hicks is obviously one of them. Gabe Powers is another one at linebacker. Maybe they mix in on special teams. And then depending on how the defense does, maybe more on defense at linebacker as the season wears on, if they prove to be the best of the lot. But I think that's a lot for them to prove in a short period of time. Some of the other true freshmen, as I look at this, Caleb Burton at wide receiver. He's interesting. Kyon Grays at wide receiver as well. Of course, Devin Brown kind of stuck at number 3 on the depth chart. We touched on him a little bit earlier at quarterback. Will he get to play, or will he get to play much at all? I don't know. Hard to say. Jair Brown at cornerback is kind of an interesting guy. He could be a special teams type guy because he's an amazing athlete, Jair Brown. He's got some God-given athletic ability. Kai Stokes at safety. As we said, crowded house at safety. I would tend to doubt he's going to play much on defense as a true freshman. George Fitzpatrick on the offensive line. No, very unlikely. Bennett Christian at tight end. No, very unlikely. Caden Curry, defensive end. Listed 6'3", 250. I think it depends, again, what you get out of the guys who are coming back. We saw Sawyer and Tuimoloau got to play a little bit last year, but that was out of necessity as much as it was that they had moved past people. There wasn't anybody to move past. They were like in the 2 deep by default because Tyler Friday was injured and Javonte Jean-Baptiste is spotty and, just kind of the way it worked. Derek Smith wasn't, it could go, more than a X number of plays a game. So it was just a case where those guys, they didn't have anybody else to play. Now, does that apply to Caden Curry this year? I don't know. But I think those two linebackers are probably the cream of the crop. Sonny Styles is not at Ohio State right now. He is finishing up the spring semester, just helped lead his high school basketball team at Pickerington Central to a state championship at the end of his junior year. And, of course, he's graduating at the end of his junior year and will be at Ohio State beginning in early June, enrolling for summer semester and going through the summer program. And maybe he can be like JT Tuimoloau last year, just have an abbreviated run-up to his helping the team in the fall. We'll see how that all plays out. But to my way of thinking about it, I mean, it's great some of these guys are in the fold for spring, their freshman year, but opportunities to play a whole lot. It's a deep team, as it kind of it's a deep and veteran team in many regards. Say what you will, and I don't know that there's a ton of opportunities for true freshmen.
Yeah, I mean, you really don't want to sit there and be relying on true freshmen if at all possible. I do agree with Steve, especially with somebody like CJ Hicks. Where does he fit in? I mean, he's just so talented that you kind of have to find a way. But if you're running a 4-2-5, and and his position is in the 2, I mean, is he going to be able to work his way in there more than as a special teams kind of role type of player? Gabe Powers is somebody who could maybe end up sliding down, but his first look's going to be at linebacker. We did learn, I mean, we'd already kind of heard it that Sonny Styles will get his first look at safety. Again, that's kind of a jammed up area. I think that maybe one of the receivers, we find somebody who just gets to play in one of his 4 games in that red shirt window. one of the receivers proves too talented to take off the field and he ends up worming his way into the mix, I think that's probably one of the more likely positions. But, they're in a good spot where they're not going to have to really rely a lot on young guys knocking on particle board at this point of the year. But, things happen.
Yeah, I think they're deep in so many spots. It's hard to say, oh, this guy is obviously the freshman who will play the most. I think you can see CJ Hicks shine on special teams and maybe kick coverage, something like that. It's a hard question because I don't know that necessarily anybody jumps out. Now, on my podcast a few weeks back, we did like a black stripe draft to see, which freshmen would have their black stripes removed first. And we did a snake draft, and I went with Caden Curry first. And then I think then it was CJ Hicks second. And so I think with Caden Curry, again, he's very coachable. He's very tenacious. All of these things that coaches like when it comes to getting your black stripe removed. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to play because you've got Zach Harry, and Jim Knowles talked about him playing at the jack position, getting a look there. Well, you've got Jack Sawyer. You've got Mitchell Melton, who we haven't talked about yet, who is really standing out. You've got Javante Jean-Baptiste, who is a fifth-year senior now. So, he's going to be involved. Paula Teote getting a little bit of a look there as he's moving back and forth between that and Sam as Jim Knowles installs some 4-3, which has to exist in the Big Ten. But I think Caden Curry is going to be great. It's just a matter of opportunity for all of these guys. And I think there's going to be a lot of redshirting. And then similar to that 2014 team that was led by a bunch of redshirt, you could see that again next year as they break in a redshirt sophomore quarterback in Kyle McCord.